Oh, hello. This is another episode of Lost in the Pond in which I remember a particular place that I visited. And this week it's going to be Ohio, a state that I've been fortunate enough to visit many a time. I think the first time, though, was either driving through it en route to West Virginia or a specific trip to Cincinnati. Let me think about that for 3 seconds. 1, 2... So I'm thinking about the numbers that I'm counting rather than the memory. Cincinnati, it was definitely Cincinnati. We were stopping off there for just a weekend trip, I think. I just wanted to chalk Ohio off the list, and we headed on the 3-hour journey from Indianapolis to Cincinnati. One of the observations I had of it was one that was rather similar to the one that I had in Milwaukee recently in my Finding America video on Wisconsin. Check that out. In which I realised there were fewer people just generally around in the city than you would find in, say, Indianapolis. I'd heard of Cincinnati. It was very much a place that was known to me, although I was rather an American geography nerd when I was a child, so most places here seem to be quite known to me. But I think Cincinnati is just sort of world known. I think people know that name. Though saying that, it's got one of those names, hasn't it, like Tennessee, Mississippi, that people sort of pride themselves on learning the spelling of. We went there, I think it was a Sunday to be fair, so that partially accounts for why nobody was around. They were all in bed. Things, I don't know why I'm doing that. I'm sitting on a bed. It's really, really tempting to just bounce up and down. Yeah, and I remember one of the big things that really stood out to me first is we were standing next to, I think, what was Ohio River, and across from the river was Kentucky, a state at that point I'd not yet been to. And I was like, could we just go out of our way, wife, just to, say we've done Kentucky? I'm glad we didn't, because I got to experience Kentucky in all of its glory later on a number of occasions, and I will get to that in a later video in memoriam. Not in memoriam, that suggests Kentucky has deceased, it hasn't. I'm just talking about my memories of them. And in Cincinnati, there's this wonderful pub, and us Brits, when we're trying to get our British fix here in America and we're trying to find pubs that are quite reminiscent of those back home, we're usually disappointed because we usually find pubs that come with lots of Winston Churchill pictures and television screens everywhere, which is not really how British pubs are. Maybe in some LSD-driven version of a British pub, but not in your average bog standard pub in England. But this one pub in downtown Cincinnati is called Nicholson's, I think, which I believe is a Scottish pub, actually pretty much hits the mark. It's really dark inside and it smells ever so slightly like disinfectant, but it just has a sense of character about it, and I rather liked it. I remember getting some old speckled hen, which is not an animal, it is in fact a drink, and drank it, that's what you do with drinks. So, I'm not murdering somebody except myself and my career. The other good thing about the Cincinnati area as well is that it houses not one but two rather nationally renowned international stores. This is Jungle Jim's international store, and inside you can get food from most any country in the world, but obviously the one that I was specifically vying for was Croatia. No, I'm lying. It was the United Kingdom. I'm sure Croatia has a lovely aisle, but the United Kingdom one is packed with all of the goods that you could possibly need, like your Cadbury's chocolate, your tea, and Twiglets, which only 50% of the country likes. I'm one of those 50%. And you can get all of that, and it's amazing, and I miss it, although I am told there is a store very much similar to it up in Kenosha, Wisconsin, so I'm going to go check that out very soon. But that was one of the good things, and I need to do a bit of a shout out here to Wise Choice British Foods, which is just up north in Dayton, and the shop is owned by a lovely Welshman called Harry, and you can get so many things there too that are of the British ilk. He'll even throw in a royal tea towel, if you ask nicely, or at least he did 3 years ago, but that was when the little baby was born, and he's since grown into a monster. I'm kidding, that would be treasonous to say such a thing if I was back in England, so thankfully I'm not. I can say from the comfort of my Chicago apartment that little Prince George is a monster. I do remember Cincinnati being quite sports themed, although I don't know much about said sports, but it was located right near the river, I think their sort of main stadium, and that sort of caught the eye. Never went to a game, but you know, if I go back I might. I do like the skyline of Cincinnati. I photographed that a couple of times. In fact, if you follow me on Instagram, Lost in the Pond, you'll actually see I took a couple of photos there if you go back through my history. If you've got time. I'm doing it again, no, I'm going nuts. It just is so tempting because I'm on a bed. I keep saying that, but it is tempting. I'll stop again. Really scaring the cats behind me. But yeah, we went to Toledo, and I really recommend their Museum of Art. We spent a good 2 hours in there. It was a rainy day, so we didn't get to do much else, but it was a fun trip. We also went to I think a seafood restaurant that was on the mouth of Lake Erie. Don't remember the name of it, but I highly recommend it. And so, as I said, I've pretty much seen the west of Ohio, so now I want to get out into the centre and into the east of the state. So what can you recommend? What are some good places to check out? I've heard Cleveland actually is a great place to visit, despite all of the stereotypes. None of those put forth by me, I have to admit. So if you do have a recommendation for where I should visit in Ohio next, please let me know in the comments below. A lot of famous people from Ohio, a lot of astronauts. A big thank you to those of you who have pledged to Lost in the Pond on Patreon. That's really going to help us going forward, getting to these places, your Ohios, your Iowas of this world. I don't know why I mentioned just those two. 2 4-letter states that came to mind. It's quick and easy to get those in there in this short time frame, he says, rattling on. So yeah, if you want to see me go to these states, if you want to see Finding America videos touch your state, in fact, why not pledge an amount? Go to patreon.com/lostinthepond, and also at the end of this video you can click on the Patreon icon. That'll take you right there if you're just too lazy to type it in. I know I am. Anyway, as they say in Ohio, cheerio. Wait, no, that's the UK. Oh, later dudes. That's just America in general. Bye.